we know that Sinclair is investing a lot in ATSC3, and we can be considered as one of the drivers in the US market behind it. And would you like to summarize the strategy behind these moves for us, Mike?
Sure, thanks. So Sinclair's kind of got, I'll say, two paths, right? We recognize that the scale may not necessarily be there at this point. So we've got a path towards sort of preparing ourselves for the future. What does that mean around data distribution, position, navigation, timing, things you may have heard of eGPS, preparing for the future with other file deliveries, automotive applications, mobile reception, those types of things. So there's the preparing for the future, preparing for when we have scale on not just reception but distribution, and there's enabling ATSC 3.0 for us today in the U.S. And I'm not sure if somebody's sharing something, but so on the execute today on the deploy. It's really about deployments. It's about getting the transmitters up. It's about getting these markets transitioned, the channel sharing agreements that are in place to enable the sharing of the spectrum for us. It's really, to us, it's about sort of seeding the ecosystem, and while we wait for the scale, as you saw in Madeleine's presentation, the adoption of the TVs. And it's really important to us that we focus on that user adoption. How does it, how are we improving the user experience for the consumers?
Talking about applications, Mike, I'd like to ask you, is there sort of a number one application in ATSC that you'd like to highlight?
Well, I don't think that there's, I'll say I don't think there's a single, main application that really is driving us. I think, first off, though, I agree completely with Sam. Well, the viewer experience is probably the most important thing that we focus on right now. And I know it's not a business model, so maybe we don't talk about it as often, about how important it is to engage with the viewer and improve that experience so that we get to our business models in the end, right? But we need to build that ecosystem. And I think the exciting things for us are building the ecosystem around data distribution and around dynamic advertising, targeted advertising, dynamic ad insertion, however, whatever terms you want to use for it. But we're building that, we are building the fundamental components of that ecosystem today. It doesn't, a lot of it relies on the same infrastructure that it takes to do a broadcast application deployment over the air. A lot of it is about signaling and having the right. These are common things that we deal with in the broadcast industry outside of 3.0, right? Is what are the right methods for signaling, for targeted ad insertion? What are the right methods for getting the content down to the viewer? And so really for us, I think those two applications and building that ecosystem, because it's not just the broadcast application, right? We need that control layer. We need to be able to signal in that ecosystem. We need to be able to control the broadcast applications. We need to be able to incorporate other pieces of content. And so it's the amalgamation of all of those components that is really, I guess, the work that we're doing, and what makes, what's going to make this worthwhile in the end, to create that business model around those two, around dynamic ad insertion, around data distribution.